Okay, so we're up to 1922. This is an interesting one. Tavas Adam Chasto V'tov Rash Mi'ish Kazav.
The desire of a person is his kindness.
Yeah. Yep.
And the good of a poor person. No, good. It's so rush. Yeah, good.
Poor person is better than. Yeah.
So rush. Okay, a poor person is better than a deceitful person.
Yeah. Yeah. Very weird one, right? So the desire of a person is his kindness, and a poor person is better than a deceitful person. Yeah. Let's actually. I don't want to look at the Saadia one quite yet. I just want to read to you the various translations here in the English. So they all are weird. Everyone's grappling with how weird. I mean, I guess what strikes you as weird about the pasuk from the get-go?
The two halves seem.
Yeah, two halves have nothing to do with each other. It seems. So Arcturl says longing for a person is his kindness, which is a really stretch for taiva, like longing. But a pauper is better than a, and then they put in brackets, rich man who deceives. Okay, so obviously like they're pressured to do that because otherwise, like, I mean, not only do the two halves have nothing to do with each other, but in the second half, which could be its own pasuk, it's like incongruous, you know? Yeah, all right, fine. So they solve that by adding rich man. Okay, fine. Then you've got living nach. Oops. Living nach says a man's appeal is his generosity. But better a poor man than a liar. And so this comes from the fact that so we translate tava as desire, but there is a weird way to translate it that it's from the word na'ava, which means like that which is befitting. So I guess living nach goes with that or let's say like a lot of them, or not a lot of them farshim, some of them farshim say tava here means like tiferes, like the splendor or the thing that makes a person glorious. So living nach is going with that. The tov rash each cause of better a poor man than a liar. Okay, and then alter. So this one, I was preparing this with Ken yesterday, and we couldn't figure it out. So a man's desire is his own lack.
Weird.
And better a poor man than a liar. So we couldn't figure it out, and then we realized Ken suggested maybe he's treating the dalet as a resh. So then I looked up in alter, and he says that basically the Masoretic text, which is obviously the one that we use, says dalet there, but then he quoted this guy named Tur Sinai, that's his last name. But I had to look at Wikipedia. So you know Ben Yehuda, right? So he like started Hebrew as modern Hebrew. So this was like the other guy who is attributed, who modern Hebrew is like attributed to, and I guess he had some theory that the word here should be cheser. But I think we're going to go with the Masoretic text because that's what we do. Yeah. So everyone is grappling with the difficulties here.
Wait, and how did he translate it?
So he translates a man's desire is his own lack, and better a poor man than a liar. And the weird thing also is like, if you was pressured to translate it that way because it helps things, but like that doesn't really help things. It just makes it another question. Yeah. All right.
How do you have a theory like it'd be like,
I don't know.
Manuscript?
I mean, the all I had was the footnote in the altar, and he just quoted this guy, and he quoted the guy and said like, you know, like scribal errors were a thing, but it didn't sound like he was quoting a specific text. And I feel like it's really loose to just be like, I don't know what this is. It could be a dollar, it could be, you know, it's not like all ratios and dollars are up for consideration, you know, I don't know. Yeah. And then, so then now look at Saadia Gaon. Okay. So Saadia Gaon makes some changes, but I think they're good changes. Tavas kol adam hi la'asos imo chesed. So the desire of every person is that kindness be done with him. Okay, so that's just making sense of the first half. And then this is the one thing he adds: V'hamagale ratio tov mi ba'al hakazav. And one who reveals his poverty is better than a liar. So that's just another option we have here. What was that? Still unclear. Yeah. And then the Targum, I think it's just a straight translation. Ragte de bar nasha chaste. So the ragte is taiva. You ever hear the explanation of esrog? Why it's called esrog? So esrog, this is from the Ramban. I think esrog, I believe he says it's from ragag, which is the Aramaic of tava. So he says it's like, I don't know, he has some sod there or whatever, I don't know. So ragte debar is just a good word to know, ragte. So ragte debar nasha chaste, v'tav miskena min gara chadava. I think it's just a straight translation. Yeah. Oh, also, there are, just to be aware, there are other translations of chesed other than kindness.
Oh, like excess.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Wrong there. Yeah. Excess. In Tanakh, though, there's one other one that is not positive. You know which one that is? It comes up once, I think, in Chumash, in Arayos.
Oh. Yeah. I thought that meant emphasis over there.
I'm sure there are those who interpret it as excess. Yeah. So in the Gilui Arayos for sleeping with your sister, the pasuk says "chesed hu," and I think they translated there as shame. So you could translate this, and there are Mefarshim who do that here, as Tavas Adam Pasto, that a person's shame is his Tava, which does fit in much better than in many ways. But we'll just I just want to throw that out there in case we take that. All right, so let's do the questions here. Yeah, so we said our first question is, the two halves seem to have nothing to do with each other, and even within the second half, the two parts have nothing to do with each other. Yeah, the way Ken said it also is like when he says better a poor person than a liar. Like, yeah, you can think of a lot of things that are better than a liar. You know, like it's just it's not like it's a category. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else?
Like another question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it Tavas Adam?
Yeah.
Tava?
Yeah, that's a good question. Why Tavas Adam instead of just Tava? Yeah, it's. I'm not super bothered by that. I mean, maybe just needs another word there. Yeah, I'm more bothered by why it says Tava in general. I guess what is the? I'm going to say here, what is the meaning and connotation of Tava? Because Tava you would not associate with Chesed. Tava is like, what do you associate? Like, how, when you hear Tava means desire, but like I feel like there's a connotation about what kind of desire.
Like more base.
Yeah, more. Do you say physical?
Yeah.
Yeah, physical base, negative. Yeah. You know, I don't think we usually have the word Tava for like good things. Right. Yeah.
What's the relationship between the Tava and the Chesed?
Yeah. Okay. Right. What is the relationship between the Tava and the Chesed? Yeah. So Saadia Gaon took the approach that that the Tava is for Chesed to be done with him, and then the other straight option would be what? Yeah, it's to do Chesed, right? So is it that people desire Chesed to be done to him, or is it that his desire is to do Chesed, or is it something else? But I think those are the two meanings that suggest themselves for.
Right. But both of those are weird. Like,
yeah.
Not usually how we think of Tava.
Yeah. Okay, we definitely have to ask for the second half, better in what sense? By what criterion and metric? Yeah.
Seemingly not by the criteria of wealth, because
right. Yeah, I mean,
most poor people
are not wealthy. Yeah. Yeah. I guess the other question is, we'll just ask the question: what does rush mean in this context? And I'm asking that both as a general question in terms of if you just define it as poor, but then also, is there a specific connotation of rush as opposed to ani, evion, dal? Because we've seen some psukim where it doesn't really seem to matter; it's just any poor person, and then some psukim, like let's say for example, I always forget which of the words for poverty are in line with this, but let's say like sometimes you have a person that is described as poor, but it means they became poor, as opposed to just they are poor. I think dal is the one that means that, but I could be wrong. Yeah.
I would approach to the.
Sure. I think there's
Yeah.
one question we're missing, which is what is an ish kazav?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, does it mean someone who's like a habitual liar or like lying about a specific thing? Yeah. Are you have an approach?
Go ahead.
I have a question on Saadia Gaon.
Question again? Yeah.
So if a person is like, what is he not? When we say he's a liar, is that he's lying because he's hiding his poverty, or he's lying about something else?
Yeah. So it sounds like Saadia Gaon is saying that he's lying about his poverty. And I think that's how he's getting the opposites within the second half, that either you are revealing your poverty or you are concealing it and therefore an ish kazav. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's just pshat and Saadia Gaon. So I'm not going to list that as a question, but I think it's his answer to that dilemma.
So I have a different question on Saadia Gaon.
Yeah.
Is it true?
Right.
Because it seems talking about how people think about a niyam differently and will act towards them differently.
Yeah.
So
So I'm going to go ahead and ask that on the second half, according to everybody, is it true? Right. Meaning whenever you say he's better, if you say he's better in whatever sense, then like, is that actually true? Okay. Approach.
Yeah, so actually it's kind of related to what I just said.
Yeah.
But that's a person, like taking Saadia Gaon's approach, like you like a person. It's not a total like full idea, but a person wants like charity and stuff for himself. Like just naturally, that's what you want. And I'm not sure why. Yeah, I don't. There's kind of a way of reading the pasuk. It's like you want charity, you want people to give you stuff, and you think the way to make them give you stuff is like make yourself look good. And they don't want to give you stuff. And then, but for some reason, but I guess the finish is no, it's not. That's not the way to do it. You should you're kind of like you feel like you're embarrassed to like express that you have needs or something, and you think that's going to make people like turn away from you. Well, maybe because of all the other psukim. I'm not sure exactly what the question was. Like, it's not totally worked out, but like you would think that you're like it would be more beneficial to hide your poverty, and that would get you better results. But it's saying no, like reveal your poverty, and then like make people want to give you something. Okay, so I had a similar approach to Saadia Gaon, and I want to talk out. I also didn't develop it fully, but I want to talk about my approach and see if that'll give us direction for either one. So I was thinking that there is a contradiction in the person who wants people to do chesed with him, because on the one hand, let's say I have a need and I want you to do chesed with me. So what I really want is I want you to respond to my need. But then at the same time, there's a shame at having a need, and that makes me want to conceal my need. So it is a contradiction in the sense that the only way, like in reality, the only way that you're going to likely give me chesed is if you know that I have this need, and and therefore it would make sense for me to be open about it, and yet I don't want to be open about it, but that's going to undermine the need to have chesed done for me, So like I'm highlighting the contradiction, and you're highlighting the. I feel like say what you were saying again. Yeah, I guess I was saying more like. You were putting in terms of advantage and disadvantage in terms of like you think that you're going to have a better shot at getting the chesed if you make yourself look good. But I think what you're saying might be more of a Mishlei I don't know. Like is that so let's flesh out the Havaminas according to both, right? Okay. So the Havamina in the pasuk structurally, according to this, is that it's better to be a liar by concealing your poverty, right? So the question is is I guess the two Mishlei questions would be what is going to be the consequence of that, and then what are the motives for that? Right. So the consequence of that, I think, is clear, which is that if you conceal your poverty, the chances of you getting the chesed that you desire is much less,
Right, but you could also get. You might think that you can get like a better job in videos.
Right. That's a good point. Right.
More results in.
Yeah,
in other
we did forget to ask, by the way, what is chesed? Yeah, and you did give an answer in this context. Yeah, and I do think it's so you were I don't know if you were quoting the Rambam or you were just
yeah
right. So chesed is excess, and then the Rambam's specific definition is he differentiates between chesed and tzedakah in the sense that chesed is you give a benefit that is not owed, whereas tzedakah is you give a benefit that you owe, or that the person has a claim on you for. So, and the Rambam says there's two types of chesed. There's I give something to someone who I don't owe anything, or I give something to someone who I owe, but I give it in a greater measure than I owe.
Right.
So I don't think so. I mean that definition has served me well as a basic definition of chesed, and I think given how rare Mishlei uses chesed, it really doesn't talk about it much. I think it was like 6 or 7 psukim. Then I feel comfortable saying that this is davka chesed and not tzedakah.
Okay.
Because tzedakah is used a lot.
Sure.
Yeah.
And according to that, it seems like there would be two possible, like theoretical possibilities of how to get that chesed.
Mm-hmm.
Get something that you don't deserve.
Okay, good. Yeah, I like what
One
you're doing.
is pretend that you do deserve it.
Right.
And the other is acknowledge that you don't deserve it.
Right.
Hope people give you.
Yeah. Okay, good. That's a good fleshing out of the Havamim Miskan according to the approach that you were saying. Now let's develop that more and then see if that ends up circling back or meaning my approach or if my approach is a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So again, either you make yourself look like you deserve it, meaning basically it's trying to get it so that they give you the good, but not as chesed.
Yeah.
Right. Because if they realize you're undeserving, that would be the other approach.
Right. But you know it's chesed.
It's chesed. Right. But the charade in a way. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Somehow.
And so the person thinks that it'll be better that way, and then Mishlei is telling him. See, I feel like we're gonna have to figure it out based on the Maskana, because Mishlei is telling him better to be open about your need.
Yeah.
So better in what sense is what we have to answer now.
Well, I guess before we get there, it does, in a sense, like make more sense to do the end route in a certain sense, because you're sort of like putting yourself at the whims of other people. Like if you pretend that you like deserve this, then people like that's more of a surefire way of getting people to do things for you if they think you deserve it. So in a sense, like that would be the hobby.
So I don't know if I'm convinced of that, because isn't it if they see that you need something, isn't that like a more primary?
Right. Well, I guess then you're kind of putting yourself at the discretion of their, like you hope that they desire kindness, whatever.
Right.
Maybe that's how it's affected.
Yeah. So that's the other question we've kind of left unanswered, which is because I took the approach that people want chesed to be done to them.
Yeah.
But you could take it as people want to do chesed.
Right. And maybe that's what it's saying. Like you would think, like, oh, I can't trust other people because they're just, people just will only do things for you if you deserve it, because people are selfish. And this is, I don't know. Yeah,
because that's where I'm not sure. I was uncertain about is that putting yourself either way, you are putting yourself at the whims of other people. You're saying that the odds are greater that people will want to give something if they think it's deserved than odds are greater for that than people giving because they think that you're in need. And that's the part I'm not sure about that, number one. And number two is they are both putting yourself at the whims of other people.
Right. Well,
as far as it's chesed.
Right.
If it were tzedakah again, then that'd be a different thing,
Yeah.
And that's what we have to remember also about the guy who's trying to, maybe we have to change what we say, the way we frame the deserving thing, because it doesn't seem like, okay, you could say that he's trying to put it in a way where to convince people that he deserves it, but then I guess, is that chesed? Meaning, maybe it's just speaking about it from the objective standpoint that really it's chesed, but he wants to like push it into the framework of tzedakah or something, or not tzedakah in the charity sense, but tzedakah in the deserved.
Right. Like he in his mind, like he is aware that he's getting chesed. He knows that he's getting chesed.
Yeah.
He is right. He's trying to make it look like tzedakah, or maybe he's trying to make it look like Like
There's also mishpat, by the way,
oh yeah.
right? Meaning,
Right.
I mean, in a stronger sense of like you know, like tzedakah is still an act of righteousness on the other person's part. And I mean, again, I'm kind of playing loose here with mishpat, but like mishpat being like you have to pay me this money.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the other option is that he has something to offer.
Yeah.
Like if you pretend that you're like, you know, really good at stock.
Yeah.
Or money.
Right.
Then, you know, then people are going to hire you.
Yeah.
You know, pretend that you have skills or whatever.
Yeah. Right.
So that could also be the thing. It's like, you know, I don't like he doesn't actually have anything to offer.
Yeah.
But he's
Yeah. Yeah. See, now this is the phase of the exploration of an idea where like I question, is this getting too complicated, or have we just not made it through the brambles to get to the clarity yet? And you know, like because I'm noticing as we're going, we're positing more and more and more, which to me is like a red flag. But yeah. Let's just try out my approach for a second and then just see if that leads us in similar or different directions. So I was saying that the Tavas Adam Chasto is the way Saadia Gaon said it, is that people want others to do chesed for them, but they want it without the revelation of their own state of poverty. And I think that that's because of shame. I mean, I think people don't want others to realize that they're in a state of need, or they don't want to feel dependent on people, or like, you know, they don't want to feel like they're losing, or they don't want to be judged for it. Like there's a lot of reasons why. I don't think it's one specific motive. So it gets you into a bind where you want people to respond to your need, but you don't want them to know about your need. So in this sense, it is better to be open about your need if you want the kindness to be done to you. Like you're just not going to get it if you conceal your need. And in fact, even if you do get something, it's going to be by accident, or it's not going to actually fully meet your needs because you're not being open about it. Like let's say like you are really in debt, and like you kind of let people know, let's say like you don't go out with your friends to eat at restaurants or whatever. So like you're kind of letting people know, but so maybe they'll like, based on their halfway influences or inferences, try to like benefit you. But if you're not open about it, then they're not going to respond correctly, you know. And I feel like not to get too broad here, but if Rush, I mean, I feel like it is a legitimate move that Rush and Ani are not always in terms of monetary things, you know. But like, let's say like you need help with something, or you lack a skill, or you lack knowledge, or you need like you know, or like you're struggling in like, you know, with something like psychologically, you know, I feel like it's a similar dynamic, is that if you were just open about it, then people would like be much more willing to help you.
Yeah.
And there's a good example of this is I guess this was early in Shalhevet, and our systems of like I guess like no, maybe it wasn't our systems. I think it was just someone who was a really good trickster. A student concealed the fact that she was hard of hearing for like the first 2 years or something like that, you know, and like academically she suffered from it, you know, and then finally, I don't know how it came forward, or maybe we knew about it, we didn't think it was as bad as it actually was. Then like we like moved her closer to the front and like gave her like source sheets and stuff, and like
Right.
her learning went up, you know. It's just one of these things where like I'm sure she is in that conflict of wanting to be helped, but also ashamed of her need.
Yeah.
And like, but if you really want the help, like you're going to have to basically like, you know, like suck it up in terms of, yeah, you're going to have to experience that momentary shame. But then if you get supplied with what you need, then presumably you're going to be better off.
Yeah.
Because it's a need, you know? And yeah, so like, I feel like this is a complete idea now I'm talking about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I have a theory about why it'd be called kazav.
Yeah.
Because I think it's addressing the way the person feels about it, because they're feeling like they're, you know, not being forthright with their need, but you know, like people will be able to figure it out, and it's not like, and this is saying you're deceiving people into thinking that you don't have a need.
Yeah.
and it's like addressing like the way the person feels about it. But
Yeah, and
saying,
I think that Oh, sorry, go ahead.
saying like you're lying about it.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's using such strong language, because the person doesn't feel like they're lying,
Right.
because they're just. I mean, first of all, it's well, okay. At the minimum, it's going to be a lying by omission.
Mhm.
They're just not telling people about this need that they have,
Right.
you know. But they're being condemned by Shlomo as you're an ish kazav, like you know, at your core, like you are lying about the state that you're in, and it's you know that again. I'm not saying that he had to say it that way, but I'm saying that it does have a, you know, when the person doesn't view themselves as a liar, you got to like go on the other extreme and like say no, you're a liar, you know. And again, it's a very Mishlei motive that we're not condemning you for being a liar because lying is bad. We're condemning you for being a liar because you're not getting what you need.
Yeah.
Like you're not getting your help, and you want it. Like it's a and maybe that's why it uses tava also. That I mean, it's okay. I guess I'm positing here. Tava usually is an instinctual desire, but I think here it might just be a strong desire.
Yeah.
You know, like an overpowering desire as opposed to like a moderate desire. You know.
Right. Like something you want for its own sake.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, right. And it's interesting that the Havamina here is not a actual, like, astrological Havamina.
Yeah.
It's like just an emotional.
Yeah, and it's like a misevaluation type of a havamina that the person is just not giving proper weight to like they're in this conflict and they're not actually like weighing out the conflict and seeing how it's gonna end up. And also the other thing is that again, I think this does apply to many different needs, but depending on how severe the need is, it's just going to get worse if you don't get what you need. Like if it's money, you're going to starve to death. If it's a psychological thing, like it's going to create more problems. So yeah, you have to get over this shame of like asking people for help, but like you're on the downtrend insofar as you don't do that. And once you do that and you get over that little hump of the feeling of shame, that's why I'm using the lecture of like just suck it up. Like yeah, people now know that like you need help in this area, but you're gonna get help and you're gonna be rehabilitated and it's gonna be good, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It is like an overemphasis of like the social like the importance of like social like.
Yeah, it's just people viewing you as like.
Right. Which is crazy because like you right. I guess that's why I'm saying Tavas Adam Paso. Like that's really what you want is the thing.
Yeah.
Like it's the social status is more of a secondary thing.
Yeah, but it feels like it's really, really powerful. Yeah. All right. In the interest of the fact that we have fewer people here today, I do want to move on tomorrow. So I think what I want to do now is go to Saadia Gaon's actual commentary, which we rarely do, because usually I like his translations better than his commentary. Like I feel like he gives really good translations, and then his commentary sometimes it's very hard to understand. But this is a really good one, so I printed it out. Here you go, and then
just in terms of the way we're reading the second half of the pasuk,
yeah,
it's better a person who lets people know that he's rush, rather than a person who doesn't and therefore isn't ish kazav.
Yeah,
but he's not like not poor.
Right. He is still poor. Right. We're not taking the rich man approach.
Right.
Yeah.
But it'll probably help his poverty.
It will help his poverty. Right. Okay. So Saadia Gaon actually takes it as though the poor person is talking about the person who's in the position to do chesed. Okay. So look at on the right column, Chaf Beis.
I started looking at the left column.
Yeah. I don't know any of these words. Yeah. Chaf Beis, yeah. Kavanaso. So the intent of this pasuk is shelo yashmiya adam lachaver shehu yetiv lo ve'achar kach lo yaseh. Person should not tell his friend that he's going to help him and then not help him, and then not do it. The apalpi shekol adam rotze mimecha shetetiv lo. Even though everyone wants you to benefit them, to do good for them. Im efchar lacha machsheh shabikesh tov. If it's possible for you to do what he requested, great. V'im lav, but if not, here's the key point. Her al lefanav I yechaltacha lama shabikesh, then make known to him your inability to do what he asks. That's how he's learning poverty. Poverty here is if you ask me to do a favor for you and I can't do it, it's better for me to say I can't do it than to tell you I can do it and then not follow through. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, he says, "Uminiyaso mimacha yoser tov," and my withholding of doing it for you is better misha tavtihu v'lo tekayim, than to promise you and then not do it.
Mhm.
And he gives two examples which I don't think help us so much. One is v'ilu lo hivtiach balak lebilam v'mesh lo kiyem haya yoser tov, and then v'ilu lo hivtiach Avimelech lebal Shechem v'mesh lo kiyem lehem haya yoser kal. All right, I'm not going to go into those examples right now, but yeah. So that's his shot. Just to get a shot is that. So a person's desire is for chesed to be done with him. Therefore, I think it's a therefore. Therefore, if you are poor, meaning if you are unable to do chesed, it's better that you just be forthright with the person and that I can't help you, than to promise and then not follow through.
Because they want the chesed, they don't want.
They want the chesed, they don't want the promise. And then so the question though is like, so what is the, again, not the havmina, like logical havmina, but like, why is a person who's put in this position tempted to make the promise and not follow through?
Right.
Or why is to think that that's better, actually, you know?
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, I guess you could want to like seem like he's like a big mocker.
Yeah.
Like, gives money out. Like,
Right.
Stuff.
Yeah, there could definitely be extraneous ego gratification of being the person who's a donor. And apparently this is a big, I mean, I've never really worked in an administrative position for a tzedakah, organization, but I think that this is a big problem of you have all these people who make commitments, financial commitments, and then they don't follow through with it, I always wonder that in terms of shuls that people give donations when they get an aliyah, I always wonder what percentage of them actually follow through with it, because it's like on Shabbos and like they
just say it.
Yeah, they just say it. Yeah.
I feel like this pasuk would work better if you like this interpretation would work better if you saw if we read the first half as saying the tava of a person is to do chesed.
Yes. Yeah.
You want to do chesed, but
Yeah. So my take on why Saadia Gaon's taking this approach is because I think he's saying that because people have such a yearning for this chesed, that's what makes it so painful when you don't follow through with it. So he's saying that like he's saying that the premise of the pasuk is you are in the position where you want chesed, and then when I promise you, then it gets all your hopes up,
right?
And then that's why it's such a big letdown when I don't do it.
So why it doesn't sound very Mishlei to be worried about someone else's. Or maybe it is.
I mean, it definitely in the sense of it's not Mishlei in the sense that it's not like selfish as a lot of Mishlei. So, right. Is that what you meant by yeah. I mean, I could definitely see this in terms of if you want to be a person who's doing tzedakah, either like actual financial tzedakah or just doing tzedek in your relationships. This is going to be very bad for the relationship. Like the first example that came to mind when I read the Saadia Gaon is like the cliche like busy dad who promises he'll take his kid fishing, and then he's like, sorry son, I'm gonna have to cancel, and like the kid's like let down. Yeah, exactly. Kid is let down, And I think that's part of also why the emphasis is being placed on the effects on the recipient, because in other words, like this. There's the would-be giver and then there's the recipient. So why does the would-be giver make this this promise? So you could say it's for extraneous reasons, but I don't want to go like in terms of the way he's going to be viewed externally. I don't want to go there because I think this could occur just in a two-person relationship. But the thing is like, okay, let's say you ask me for help and I give you help right now. So I get to see you be happy, right? I'm like, oh, look, I made this guy happy, But let's say I promise to help you. So I get that same reaction.
Yeah.
And I get it right now before I do anything. And it almost is like I was trying to find a word for this when I was thinking about it yesterday, and there's probably a better word than this. It's almost like a counterfeit chesed, in the sense that like I'm getting the like pat on the back from like your reaction and from me feeling good about myself, feeling like I did something without the actual doing something. And meanwhile, on your side of the equation, you're first of all, you're going to rely on the fact that I'm giving this to you because you asked for help and I said I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah.
And so you're depending on it. So practically speaking, there's going to be a big letdown when you don't get it. And in terms of the kid with the dad canceling the fishing trip, there's going to be like this anticipation that like is shattered,
Right.
that is being built up, and then that doesn't come true. And I think it is going to damage the relationship in the sense that like you can't help but question like, why didn't I follow through? Like, do I really not care as much about you as like I made it seem? Like are there more important things or people? Like, it's gonna. I think there's gonna be like a lot of like of psychological pain as opposed and like ego-based pain in terms of the like, why didn't this person like help me? Like I needed it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's the. And I think again, this also fits in terms of the harshness of than being a liar. Like better to be poor up, admit your poverty up front. And again, poverty here is your inability to help the person, than to be a liar about it.
Right.
And I think also like in terms of my experience with situations like this, not that this compensates for the need that the person's asking, but like let's say you ask me for help, and I say like I really want to help you, but I am just not going to be able to, or I'm not going to be able to do a good job. I think there is a certain kiyum in like the honesty and the directness, like that people do respect the fact that you're not going to make commitments that you can't stand by, so that's another benefit in terms of strengthening the relationship. Yeah.
And people are like, people,
Yeah, Isaac.
people are like, I mean, they're not happy that they're not being helped, but they're like, they appreciate the fact that you're expressing that you want to help them, but you just can't.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah. And you do get some of that credit of like saying, I would like to help you. That shows goodwill, at least, and that you care, but it's not doing it in a way where, see, that's the thing, is that, okay, maybe this is another nuance in the idea. Hope you're going to remember what you're going to say.
I was gonna say.
Okay, yeah. Is that you want to make this commitment because you want to show goodwill and that you care about this person, but you feel like the only way to do that is by making the actual commitment, even though you don't know if you can fulfill it. At least this way, you show the goodwill, which is genuine, but you just don't set them up for disappointment, So you'll get what you want if you use Mishlei's strategy. The only thing you won't get is like that feeling of I'm the one who's a helper, because you can't, because you're not helping, Yeah. When I was talking about this with Ken, he gave a good example of this, which I'm not going to bring on the screen because it's going to take too long. He was saying on Reddit. So I guess this is on the Reddit thread for this is the Reddit thread on depression. And so he says that it's or not he, Reddit. The people on Reddit say that it's very possible that like one common response is people responding by saying like PM me anytime, and they really on this Reddit thread they discourage that for several reasons. It says like so this is Reddit. I don't know who wrote this. I don't know if it's the people who started the thread or whatever, but it says anyone who, while acting as a helper, invite or accept private contact, for example, PMs, chat, or any kind of offsite communication, early in the conversation is showing either bad intentions or bad judgment. Either way, it's unwise to trust them. And then in their explanation, they say, PM me anytime seems like a kind and generous offer, and it might be perfectly well-meaning, but unless and until a solid rapport has been established, it's just not a wise idea. Here are some points to consider before you should offer or accept an invitation to communicate privately. And then it goes through a bunch of reasons why you shouldn't do this. And one of them is, it says, people who are struggling with serious mental health issues often justifiably have a low tolerance of disappointment and a high level of ever-changing emotional need. Unless the helper is able to make a 100% commitment to be there for them in every way for as long as necessary, offering a personal inbox as a resource is likely to do more harm than good. And I think it's just this example of like, and again, there are many other reasons, but like you just want to do something, and this could come from good intentions. You want to do something that makes the other person feel better and like takes away their pain. And saying stuff is very easy, but you don't think through the implications of saying stuff, and you don't picture the extreme letdown when you don't actually do that. And that's really the what it's trying to get you to do. And in this sense, I think it is Mishleic in the sense that being aware of other people's emotions and psyche will help you to better manage not only your own relationships, but your own psyche and your own emotions. And so practicing empathy for the selfish reason of having better self-knowledge is a very Mishlei thing, you know, and having better relationships is a better Mishlei thing, you know, and helping people is Mishlei in the sense that a tzaddik who cares about the system and cares about helping everyone in the system because it's good for the system, then this is good for that person also.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we got 2 good ideas then.
Yeah.
Right, so this first one had to do with a unintentional misreading of Saadia Gaon, which is treating the poverty as the person who has the need and saying that you have this conflict between wanting people to help you, but not wanting them to know that you have a need. And that's just going to keep you in conflict. And even if you get what you're either not going to get what you need at all, or if you get it, it's going to be in some like way that's not good for you. So just force yourself over that initial shame, and then you'll get what you need, and you'll be in a better state, and like you'll be better able to like, you know, go on with your life, and it'll be fine. And it's just a social stigma, like you were saying, just social. Like there's no real harm. Whereas if you have a need that's not being addressed, that is real harm. You know. Then Saadia Gaon's actual idea is it's directed at the would-be promiser of chesed. That given the fact that people desire that chesed be done, better for you to admit your inability to help them if you can't help them, and be straight about it, than to lie and say that you're going to help them when you really don't, because it's going to have a big letdown for them. And it's going to harm the relationship, and you're not actually like doing anything to help them. You're just getting the satisfaction of helping them when you didn't help them, and you're going to make them into a situation where they think they can depend on you and they can't. So it's going to create practical problems and a bunch of other issues.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Right.
All right, good idea. All right, we can move on to the next one tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, Isaac.